Welcome once again, my fellow manipulators of digital fate. I'm Richie, this is Capricorn, and today we're iterating on what is probably my favorite deck that we created, we brewed during early access for Bloomburrow. We have a completely new slant on it. This deck is called Invasion Viper, and the idea here is we're taking Rottenmouth Viper to the extreme. Now, we've already done the 𝑂𝑟𝑧ℎ𝑜𝑣 discard thing, which is really powerful, but we're trying to take that idea and amp it up to 11 by introducing a third color, in this case being red. We have a 𝑀𝑎𝑟𝑑𝑢 deck here, which most of you probably know is one of my favorite 3-color combinations in the game. I tend to go back to 𝑀𝑎𝑟𝑑𝑢 a lot. There's just a lot of interesting stuff that you can do, and this deck is no different. We do so much crazy shenanigans. We go wide with so many crazy permanents that get us value while we're playing them, but then we don't really lose value while sacrificing them, so we can sacrifice them to the Rottenmouth Viper. We can also do things like use temporary lockdown, not only exile our opponent's board, but also exile all of our 2-drop stuff so that we can sacrifice the temporary lockdown to the Viper later on, or to a couple other little tricks we have up our sleeve. And then everything that was under the lockdown just comes back, and we get all that value all over again. So there's just kind of a lot that this deck is trying to do, and we succeed most of the time. It's really crazy. We took this on the ladder. We went up, I want to say, through Platinum, I believe. I think we got to Platinum with this, and granted, I haven't been grinding the ladder or trying to get to Mythic or anything, so it just sort of happened. We just got a ton of wins in a row. I think we only lost like 2 games, and it was pretty gnarly. So I'm loving this deck. I'm loving Rottenmouth Viper, and I'm loving finding new ways to try to break the card. I've got a couple more ideas in mind, but I think I'm going to save them for a little bit later and start doing some more diverse decks with my next few deck techs, so look forward to that. With that being said, we are going to break down the deck, but before we do, make sure you like the video if you haven't already. It's you guys liking every video that is helping this channel to grow so quickly, and it means the absolute world to me, so thank you so much. I just put out a channel update video the other day announcing how we, passed 10,000 subscribers and everything that's coming to the channel in the coming months. There's so much planned. Things are going big, guys. We're getting there. Merch is on the way. Lots of crazy stuff. If you're really interested in everything the channel's going to be pursuing over the next few months, definitely check out that video. Also, be sure to catch me live Monday through Friday over on Twitch. That's twitch.tv/quarantinecapricorn. Because if I'm alive and I'm breathing, I'm there and I'm streaming. And today's video is brought to us by Wonders of the First, but I'll tell you about that later. Let's break down the deck. I honestly just can't get enough of the Viper. It's taking over my life. Anyway, so the idea behind this deck is we're running Rottenmouth Viper, which is a 6-mana 6/6, but as an additional cost to cast it, we can sacrifice any number of non-land permanents. For each one we sacrifice, the spell costs 1 less to cast. So if we have up to 5 permanents to sacrifice, we can cast the Viper for just 1 black mana, getting a 6/6, which is already kind of good. But the fact that it has this other ability is what makes it really insane. When it enters the battlefield, it gets a blight counter on it, and then our opponent has to choose to either lose 4 life, sacrifice a non-land permanent, or discard a card for each blight counter on it. Then, every time Rottenmouth Viper attacks, it gets an additional blight counter, and it triggers that same ability. So if it manages to survive for an entire turn cycle, it can swing in, get a second counter, and our opponent has to do that thing twice. They have to either lose 8 life, or discard 2 things, or sacrifice 2 things. And it gets really crazy, especially if we spent the entire game up until that point, making them get rid of every card in their hand, or every permanent on the battlefield. That puts them in a very difficult position where they probably have no removal left in their hand to kill the Viper, and so we're going to guarantee that we can get up to those shenanigans, which is really nuts. Now, some of you may have already seen this deck in an early access build that we brewed during Bloomburrow Early Access, and that version was 𝑂𝑟𝑧ℎ𝑜𝑣. This version, we're going even crazier. We're adding a third color, we're adding red, and we're going 𝑀𝑎𝑟𝑑𝑢, and we're doing that for 2 key cards. The first being Invasion of Azgol, a 2-mana battle that when it enters the battlefield, target player sacrifices a creature or planeswalker and loses a life. So this is a way to have removal, especially if it's against a very high quality creature and not necessarily go wide creatures, to just get rid of a big threat. But it's also a permanent, and that's what makes it important in this deck, because it's another thing that's then on the battlefield that we can sacrifice to the Rottenmouth Viper. So if we can start removing all of our opponent's threats while we're building up to the Viper, so that, you know, a couple of the cards maybe we can't get them to discard, they're getting onto the battlefield before we get to make them discard it, now we can deal with them while they're on the battlefield without losing that synergy, while we're still getting permanents on the battlefield to sacrifice to the Rottenmouth Viper, which is really important. In addition to the 4 Invasion of Azgol, the other reason we're running red is for 2 Blood Spatter Analysis. This is a 2-mana enchantment, 1 red and 1 black, and when it enters the battlefield, it deals 3 damage to target creature and opponent controls. So it is a little bit limited. It can only hit a creature, right? And it can only hit something the opponent controls. Not that we really want to hit our own stuff, but whenever 1 or more creatures die, we get to mill a card and put a Bloodstain counter on Blood Spatter Analysis, and then if it has 5 or more, we sacrifice it, and we get to return any creature from our graveyard to our hands. So Blood Spatter Analysis is another really good way of being early removal, being a permanent that we can sacrifice to the Viper, but then also later in the game, if our opponents killed our Viper or some of the other creatures we're running, it's a way to get back the Viper and recast it after our opponent is completely out of gas and doesn't have removal to take out the Viper again, which is really, really nice. Now, let's go to the bottom of the curve and talk about some of our other choices, because we're mostly splashing the red for removal, but we are running a lot of discard as well. So we're running 4 Tinybones Joins Up and 4 Hopeless Nightmares. Both of those are permanents that are going to make our opponent discard a card when they enter the battlefield, but then can be sacrificed to the Viper. And all of these permanents that I was talking about already that can be sacrificed to the Viper, they also double as things we can return to our hand with Nurturing Pixie. So Nurturing Pixie comes down for 1 mana as a 1/1 flyer, and if it returns another non-fairy, non-land permanent that we control to our owner's hand, to our hand, we get to put a +1/+1 counter on it, which is really nice. Getting a 2/2 flyer for 1 mana is a nice little bit of extra value. It can help block and stall out the game, or it can help get in for an extra 2 damage every turn and end the game that much quicker. But the real value comes in returning these permanents, since all of the permanents in our deck, most of the cards are permanents in our deck that do something really significant when we cast them, and they're all very cheap. They're perfect targets for the Pixie. So if we need to kill something, we can return the Analysis or the Invasion of Azgol, replay it, kill whatever we need to. If we just need to get even more cards out of their hand, we return the Nightmare or the Tinybones Joins Up. And like I said, we have this 2/2 flyer on the field now that gives us a bit more pressure on the board to help us do whatever we need to do with it. Moving on to the 2-drop slot, we've also got 4 Bandit's Talent, and this is really the key card that makes this deck sing, outside of the Viper, of course. Enters the battlefield for 2 mana, makes our opponent have to discard a non-land card or otherwise discard 2 cards, which is kind of crazy. We level it up for 1 mana to level 2, and if our opponent has 1 or fewer cards in their hand during their upkeep, they'll take 2 damage. So this is another way to not only speed up the clock as far as getting their hand down to 0, but also speed up the clock as far as their health. It can contribute damage every single turn, because this deck just keeps keeping their hand completely empty. It just has so much discard, it's crazy. You can also level it up to level 3 for 4 mana, and when it's at level 3, at the beginning of our draw step, if they have 1 or fewer cards in their hand, we'll get to draw an additional card. So if we do run out of gas in the late game, and like we don't have much on our side, and they don't have anything on their side, and neither of us have cards in our hand, we could just dump our extra mana into leveling this up to level 3, start drawing twice as many cards as our opponent, and just outvalue them, which is really nice. Works really good against control, too. We've also got 1 Raven Man, because there's a lot of discarding happening. There's even some ways to make ourselves discard stuff, and every time we discard, at the end of our turn, we're going to get a 1/1 Blackbird creature token with flying. Now, it can't block, but it can help contribute chip damage to all of the other ways we're contributing chip damage and just speed up that clock. But it can also be a way to have more things to sacrifice to the Rottenmouth Viper. If we have a Raven Man down on turn 2, and then over the course of the next 2 or 3 turns, we're making our opponent discard cards and we're building up these bird tokens, well, now we can just drop the Rottenmouth Viper for super cheap by sacrificing all of the birds, maybe a couple other permanents, and getting it down for like 1 black mana and not really losing very much at all. So Raven Man, it is legendary, so I'm going to stick to just 1, but I think it's a really good inclusion in a deck like this because it fuels so many of the different synergies. We've also got 2 Tithing Blade. This goes alongside the 2 Blood Spatter Analysis and the 4 Invasion of Azgol for an 8-card removal package in a way. We do have more removal, which I'll get to in a bit, but as far as our very cheap, 2-drop or less removal, we've got 8 cards. And the reason we're running 2 Tithing Blade instead of another 2 Blood Spatter Analysis is just because it makes the opponent sacrifice a creature, period. It's not as good as the Invasion of Azgol because the Invasion can hit Planeswalkers and does an extra damage, and there are edge case scenarios where we can attack it and flip it into an Ashen Reaper and have more board presence, and none of that are things we get with the Tithing Blade, even though we do potentially get the ability to craft with it, but that is expensive and that's not going to come up nearly as often. But Tithing Blade letting us, play something that makes them sacrifice a creature is really important. The 2 Tithing Blades, in addition to the 4 Invasion of Azgol, gives us 6 cards, a nice 6-card package. And you guys that have been with the channel for a while, you'll know that I like to do things in packages of 6 if it's something that I definitely want to hit, in the first 4 turns of the game consistently. 6 is a nice round number. It's usually the number I use for like sweepers and that sort of thing, just because of the way the math works in the deck. If you have a 60-card deck and you have 6 copies of a card, you're likely to have, 1 in every 10 cards. And you're likely to see 10 cards in your first 4 turns. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So I think 6 is a really good solid number, and making sure we can make them sacrifice a creature instead of just killing it with damage is important because of our 3-drops, or most notably our most important 3-drop, which is Temporary Lockdown. This comes down for 3 mana, exiles every non-land permanent that costs 2 or less. You guys have probably seen this all over the place. It's really good for dealing with aggro, and that's no different here. But in this deck in particular, because it's taking out all the small stuff, it's going to probably leave behind just that 1 value creature that your opponent has that we can now easily take out if we have a way to make them sacrifice a creature. Whereas if we have the Blood Spatter Analysis, it might not do enough damage to take out that 1 big creature they still have left after we cast a Temporary Lockdown. So I do think the 2 Tithing Blades to give us a 6-card package of sacrifice removal while also still getting to put in 2 Blood Spatter Analysis is the right call as far as number. But Temporary Lockdown has another use in this deck, which is really cool. So we can exile not only all of their non-land permanents that cost 2 or less, but we exile all of ours. And all of ours are things that don't really have any value just sitting there on the board, so we don't lose anything by exiling them. But if we ever get to a point where we can get rid of the Temporary Lockdown, and now all those things come back onto the battlefield, they all trigger again. So the Hopeless Nightmare, the Tinybones Joins Up, the Bandit's Talent, they'll all make our opponent discard again if they're under a Temporary Lockdown, if they're exiled, and we find a way to get rid of the Temporary Lockdown. The Tithing Blades, the Blood Spatter Analyses, the Invasion of Azgols, they'll all make our opponent lose creatures if we can get rid of the Temporary Lockdown. And so being able to sacrifice the Temporary Lockdown to a Rottenmouth Viper makes it an insanely good thing to try to pull off, to try to synergize with in the deck, and it's kind of nuts when it happens. And to go with this idea, we're also using 3 Soul Partitions. Soul Partitions are going to be good in this deck anyway, because in a bind, we can just use them as temporary instant speed removal to buy ourselves some time, but what it's going to be best at is exiling one of our own things so that we can recast it. If they play a Sheoldred and it's the only thing on the battlefield, instead of soul partitioning the Sheoldred and then they end up casting it again a couple turns later, we can Soul Partition our Invasion of Azgol. And then we can play the Invasion of Azgol from exile and make them sacrifice the 𝑠hield-rid. So being able to Soul Partition all of those permanents that have really good enters the battlefield value for us so that we can recast them and get that value when we need it is really, really nice. But then the icing on the cake with this card is we can use Soul Partition as another way to get rid of the temporary lockdown and bring everything back. So if we don't have a Viper, but we have Soul Partition, not only do we get everything back that's under the temporary lockdown, but the lockdown itself goes into exile so that we can recast it again later if we need to. If our opponent goes wide with creatures again and we need another sweeper, or if we just want to exile all of those permanents again so that we can do the whole loop a second time, we have the option to do all of those things. So Soul Partition as a nice secondary auxiliary way in combination with Rottenmouth Viper to get rid of the lockdown is super, super smart. But it's really the fact that it's not a waste of a card if you don't have the lockdown, because you can use it on all of your other value permanents as well, that really makes this card a great inclusion in this deck. In addition to the 4 temporary lockdowns, we're also running 3 Lilianas, because it comes down for 3 mana, it contributes to our discard theme, helps us get even more cards out of our opponent's hand, while also giving us another way to make our opponent sacrifice creatures. So in reality, we don't really have 6 ways to make our opponent discard, we have 9, because of the 3 Lilianas, but as far as things that cost 2 and things we want to get out consistently on turn 2, or at least have the option to, we have a 6 card package. But Liliana, letting us discard, letting us make our opponent sack whatever we need. It's kind of doing everything the other cards in the deck are doing, just all smashed into one card. And then if we can get up to the ultimate, making our opponent sacrifice half the stuff on their board is most of the time just game over when we're already taking away so much of their value with everything else in this deck. Moving on to the 4-drop slot, we have just 2 Hostile Investigators. 4 mana, when it enters the battlefield, it makes our opponent discard a card. At the end of our turn, whenever one or more players discard one or more cards, we get to investigate, but the ability triggers only once each turn. Not at the end of our turn, just only once a turn. It's also a 4/3 body, so not only does this contribute to our discard synergies, but it also allows us to build up extra token permanents every time we make our opponent discard, so that we can have more things to sacrifice to the Rottenmouth Viper to get it out quicker if we need to. So the one thing that I'm kind of bummed about with this deck is I do wish we had room for 4 Rottenmouth Vipers and 4 Hostile Investigators, but we're at 21 lands. It's kind of hard enough to fit 4 drops as it is. I wouldn't want to go less than 2. It would be nice if we could go more than 2, but I think we'd really have to retool the mana base and cut even more cards, and I don't think that that's best for the deck. So unfortunately, we're sticking to 2 and 2 Vipers, which really wants to go up to 4. But you can definitely modify this deck into whatever version you want and run 4 copies if you'd like. The power is here, the potential is here, and honestly, the deck is just kind of insane. We're going to get to the games. Before we do, I'd like to thank the sponsor of today's video, Wonders of the First. I'd like to thank the sponsor of today's video, Wonders of the First. Wonders of the First is a brand new collectible card game similar to games like Magic the Gathering, Yu-Gi-Oh! And Pokemon, featuring a unique action-based resource economy that helps avoid pitfalls like Mana Flood or Mana Screw, and a battlefield containing multiple realms that unlock over time as you fight for control of the stones. The first 400 card set is called Existence and will launch to retail in the fall, but playtest team starter kits are available to order now. And they haven't forgotten about all you collectors out there. The game contains alternate borderless art variants, as well as highly sought after limited edition numbered prints, culminating in a 1-of-1 stone foil. And the best part is that the developers have a community first approach, with 8 print and play decks available on their website, as well as a version of the game available on Tabletop Simulator, all for free. For more information, be sure to check out wondersccg.com today. That's wondersccg.com. Alright, this looks pretty good. We can keep this. We're gonna jam Tinybones Joins Up on turn 1, and then we have lots of options for turn 2. Alright, discard, my friend. Legendary Swiftspear. Sure. Probably Azgol while we can, right? We do have to take 1 damage, but I think it's okay. We get rid of the Swiftspear. Next turn, we can either Hopeless Nightmare Nurturing Pixie, or we can Blood Spatter Analysis. Felonious Rage. Well, I guess we probably... take the opportunity to kill the Heartfire hero, right? Let's do that. We'll take 2, unfortunately. And then we'll take another one when we play Nurturing Pixie here. Bounce the Blood Spatter Analysis back to our hand. So we can kill whatever he plays, and also Hopeless Nightmare, and we have Soul Partition, which can either temporarily deal with the threat of his, or we can use it to recast the Invasion, or the Blood Spatter, or the Hopeless Nightmare, whatever we want. So that seems pretty good. Is he about to rope me? Is he roping me? Really? Butthurt Mono Red has to give me the rope. Just doesn't do anything. He's gone. He is gone, bro. So we'll Hopeless Nightmare, force him to discard. Honestly, it's just gonna force him to work through his fuses so that we could just get the win. Because he's a baby. Sky King's a baby. Poor little baby. Poor little baby had to lose and run away. The hell are you the king of, Sky King? You're a coward. You're no king of mine. Yeah. And then we'll just swing. I guess at the Invasion, right? End the turn. Hold up Soul Partition. Realistically, though, we're just forcing him through his fuses. We know the game's already ours. Blade of Land. Would you look at that? Exiled a demonic ruckus. Huh. Alright, so we will Soul Partition Hopeless Nightmare. Because why not? Because why not? And then we will swing at the Invasion. Flip it. Ashen Reaper. End the turn. Hold up Soul Partition. See what he's got. Right, Bandit? You know. You know. Alright, you got a scamp. How scampy of you. And we're going to play a ruckus on the scamp. We're going to exile it in response so that you lose the ruckus. Then we're going to play Lily. Yeah, game over. Alright, this looks fine. We'll keep it. Bit more lands than I would like, but it is what it is. Tinybones Joins Up. Makes him get rid of a card. We can either Blood Spatter Analysis next turn, or we can hold up Soul Partition. Either one should be a pretty decent play. Hired Claw. Guess we probably do this now. Get a counter on the Blood Spatter Analysis. Invasion of Azgol in the graveyard. Certainly have a lot of white mana. Another Hired Claw. And a Lily. We'll play the Mirex so we can play the Lily. And then we will minus to make him get rid of the other Hired Claw. And put another counter on the Blood Spatter Analysis. And then put an Inspiring Vantage milled into our graveyard. Vine Lasher with Offspring. It doesn't have a land to play afterwards, which is kind of nice. Either way, this is coming into play untapped. Or tapped, rather. Let's get rid of the Thran Portal. Question is, do we hold up Soul Partition, or do we just play Invasion of Azgol? I think the more creatures he gets onto the battlefield, the less powerful the invasion is. So I think we play it while it's at its most beneficial, when he doesn't have any option but to sacrifice one of his Vine Lashers. Get another counter on the Blood Spatter Analysis. We get a Tithing Blade in the graveyard. Still no creatures to bring back, unfortunately. Take some damage from that. That's fine. He'll probably attack Lily and get her down to 1.
Watch it.
Which is fine. I mean, that seems pretty good. Let's just Hostile Investigator. And as much as I'd like to hold on to that Soul Partition, let's just uptick Lily and make him have to discard something else. We won't get another clue token, but yeah, there we go. There we go. Alright, this looks pretty decent. No red yet, but we might not need it right away. So we can Courtyard into Tinybones Joins Up. Difficult decision, huh? Difficult decision. Alright, so we will Hopeless Nightmare. Low Ratanas. And then we'll Pixie. And return the Hopeless Nightmare. And if you would like to waste a removal spell on the Pixie, that will be wonderful. Assuming he's going to hit the lockdown here. Well, we're definitely going to Hopeless Nightmare. And then we probably just hold up Soul Partition. If I partition the bat now, he just replays it and takes the temporary lockdown before I could play it anyway. If he goes wide enough... Alright, so we'll Soul Partition. I think we'll just do the Hopeless Nightmare. Yeah, and then we can recast it next turn. So we make him waste his duress. Swings with the bat. We'll play Hopeless Nightmare. It's gonna be in rough shape. 2 lands and 1 card. He's about to only have 1 card left in his hand. Alright, so Aquazotz and CAPRICORN are down. Let's see what he's got. Edict makes us sack the Pixie, that's fine. Honestly, we've got the Mirex. That's even better than Mirex right now. Let's do that before he has a chance to cast another creature. Alright then. I actually think we keep the Caves in our hand in case he's got some kind of discard where we get to choose. Doesn't seem like he does, but we'll just pass the turn. We'll make a Might token. Alright, well, now we'll play the land. Make him discard. Is it over? Is it over? Are you scooping? Are ya? Yeah, we got you. We got you. Alright, this looks pretty good. We'll keep it. No red, but I don't think we'll need it anytime soon. We'll start with a Courtyard and a Hopeless Nightmare. Hello. Discards a Forest. Lush Portico. I think we start with the Raven Man. Get it down now. Play our discard, get some extra value. Seems pretty okay. Let's go with Bandit's Talon. That way, if we don't draw a card next turn, we can level up the Bandit's Talon and cast the Nightmare. Okay, so we hit his Get Lost and make him discard a Sunfall. That seems really good. And we get a bird from the Raven Man. Okay. Now we're cooking. Now we are cooking. So we'll just go Hopeless Nightmare. I kind of want to put a map token on the bird. Because the bird is not a great target. Rottenmouth Viper, we'll put that on top. And we'll swing for 4. Wow. Nothing from our Abzan player. Crazy. Crazy, crazy, crazy. Hopeless Nightmare. Swing with everything. Oh, wow. And play the Viper. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We get to scry essentially 6. We'll keep the Nightmare. Put the other one on the bottom. Actually, we probably need a land, don't we? Yeah, I'm a dummy. You know what? Let's put them both on the bottom because we need a land. I'm a dummy. I should have just kept what was on top. We had another land coming. Well, he can't take the 4, so he has to discard or get rid of a land. Makes sense getting rid of the lockdown. It can't deal with the Viper. GG's. Good grief. Viper with 2 counters. He just takes it. GG's, my friend. This actually looks kind of crazy. We can Tinybones Joins Up on 1, and then turn 2 we can do another one and a Hopeless Nightmare, or we can Blood Spatter Analysis. This looks great. Let's keep it. Let's keep it. Chris Caravello. Duress me. Well, good luck. Probably the Hopeless Nightmare. Could see a Blood Spatter Analysis. Hello. Gonna be very unhappy. Gets rid of a Tinybones Joins Up. Wow. Okay. We can only keep one of those on the battlefield anyway. Does he have a creature now? Doesn't look it. So I guess we'll just Hopeless Nightmare. I'll go down to 18, discard another card. Carnosaur. He's going to play Demand Dancers first. Discarding a Coiling Rebirth. And then he discards a Mount. Alright.
A fight? And you think you can
Lily.
You won't be outsmarting me.
Lily. I guess we get rid of the temporary lockdown. I guess that makes sense. None of these work with Lily, unfortunately. So we're just going to pass the turn. We'll discard a Blood Spatter Analysis.
I'm tired
Just
of
to keep our options open. And then we will we'll sack the Hopeless Nightmare to scry into something we can use to get rid of Lily. Bandit's Talent and a Lily. I mean, Bandit's Talent's good, right? I think we keep it. Although I am worried about that Lily ultimating. But we've got him on a 9-turn clock now. Or I guess 8 now, right? Even if he picks Bandit's Talent as the one and everything else as the other, we just keep Bandit's Talent and we hope to ride it to victory.
You won't be outsmarting me.
Yeah, we level it up again. That way when he does use Lily's ultimate and we keep the Bandit's Talent, it's just drawing us double cards every turn and hurting him every turn. And if he's not that smart, he might actually let us keep something else along with the Bandit's Talent, which would be nice. But no matter what, we're keeping that thing. No matter what. And we're keeping the Blood Spatter Analysis in our hand because if we're drawing 2 a turn...
I'm tired of your secrets.
Okay, he decided to uptick. But if we're drawing 2 a turn, we can get to 2 mana for a Blood Spatter Analysis. Probably pretty quickly. quickly. I mean, I definitely don't want a temporary lockdown in this situation. We'll pass a turn. And in fact, if we draw lands at this point, we're just going to keep them in hand. Alright, separate all permanents, sure. Let's see if he lets us keep a land. Sacrifices all permanents in the pile of their choice. Okay, he did let us keep a land. That's really good for us. That's really good for us. And we drew a land. Nice. Pass the turn, hit him for 2. He's on a 5-turn clock. Can he do enough? Alright, we'll discard temporary lockdown. That's basically all these temporary lockdowns are. There's no way we're exiling our own Bandit's talent. We need to ride that to victory. What is he doing? Okay, we're going to draw double. And I guess we probably Liliana, right? And we uptick. And we keep our Lily higher than his Lily. That's the key. Brotherhood's End. Chose to destroy all artifacts, I guess. Alright, we'll draw 2. Play the Raven Man, uptick.
You won't be outsmarting me.
He makes us sack our Raven Man, probably. Which I'm kind of okay with.
I've always hated
The Bandit's talent's just gonna ride us to victory. So it's fine, it's fine. Oh man. Oh man. Oh man. That is a difficult decision. We can't sack everything to play the Rottenmouth Viper, right? So I guess we just discard the Viper, play the Pixie, don't return anything. Because he's going to make us sacrifice the Pixie anyway. Or discard it, rather. The other option is just keep both in our hand and say go, but if we do that, then we can't uptick the Lily. And I think getting the Lily's ultimate is more important. Oh, he's going to take our Viper, I think. No, he's going to grab an Atali. I think he might just be too close to dead, though. Good game. It's definitely not good game. I don't know what he's thinking. It's definitely not good game. Oh, he's got... Okay, he's got haste. Yeah, discard a card. Sucker.
We all have things
Keep your expensive stuff. Pixie, huh?
Typical. Don't bother begging.
1, 2. And then we'll go, 2, 2, 2. We'll make all of his black mana 2. There. So he either gets the Atraxa, 2 mountains, and a Hopeless Nightmare, or he gets a Tali, Lily, and his 5 black sources. Either way is bad for him. We could make him discard another card by returning Bandit's Talent to our hand and then replaying it. But I don't think we want to do that. Submit 0. We're going to have to take the hit here. Alright, gets rid of the Lily, hits us for 7. Oh, he's got the Rankles prank. Dang, man. Alright, this looks pretty good. We have all of our colors. We have a turn 1 play. We've got some removal just in case. Let's keep it. Hello, Pabs. Wonder if Pabs has a blue ribbon. Shadowy Back Street. Alright, we're going to start with the Courtyard. Play a Hopeless Nightmare. And then we're probably just jamming Bandit's Talent on turn 2. Right, Bo? Bo knows. Unless he plays something we really need to deal with Invasion of Azgol. Which is possible. Alright. Bandit's Talent. We already hit a Geological Appraiser. Let's see what we hit this time. War Leader's Call, nice. Forge. That's gonna be a tricky one. That is gonna be tricky to deal with. That is gonna be tricky. So we're gonna do it like this.
Happy to help.
Uptick.
But don't overthink things.
We will dump, I guess, a Pixie. I want to keep the 4th land so I can make sure and level up the Bandit's Talent. I think it's our only way to really race the Forge. That and the Liliana. If we can start diverting some of the attacks from the Forge to the Lily so that he can keep it from ultimating.
You know, I think you look better as a corpse.
That could buy us some time as well. Let's go Pixie. Bounce the Nightmare. Nightmare. And then we will uptick the Lily. Dump the Caves.
You won't be
Keep
outsmarted.
the Invasion just in case. And then we will uptick Bandit's Talent. And I think we can race now, right? I think we can race another Forge. Well, we better be able to race, because here we go. What's more important, the Pixie or the Lily? Honestly, Lily's never getting to ultimate with these guys coming at it every turn anyway. And he's never going to have actual creatures for us to make sacrifice. And he's also never going to have cards to make him discard. So let's just let it go. That seems fine. We'll level this up. And swing 2. Pass a turn. Take another 2. So right now he's on like a 3-turn clock. And I don't think the forges can kill us before then. It's possible. It's going to hit us for 8 next turn. And then lethal the turn after that, so it's going to be very close. It's going to be very, very close. Unless he has a way of dealing an extra 4 damage, he can't kill us next turn no matter what. And no matter what, even if the Pixie blocks, it only prevents at most. It only prevents at most 2 damage. And it can do that next turn. So, we're going to swing 2. End the turn. And now the question becomes, do we make a might? With a might, we could get him down to 1. And kill him with the Invasion of Azgol. Oh, but he's got a bivouac. Still can't kill us, though. Bivouac gets us to 1, which means we can't use our Pain Land. It looks like that's what he's going to do. Gets us to 1. Unless he's got something really wild up his sleeve. We go to 1. Resolve. Resolve. And then we'll make a might token. Wow, that is a lot of land. That is a lot of land. So we will we'll swing for 3. We'll play the Azgol, which will ping him for 1. And then we'll end the turn, and he'll take 2 to the Bandit's talent. Right? That's game? Wow, that was close. We managed to race some forges. Alright, this looks pretty good. We're going to keep it. Alright, we'll start with the Cliffs. We'll play Tinybones Joins Up. Make him discard a card. He discards 3 steps ahead. Playing Esper Control, huh? Binding Negotiation. Interesting. What are we discarding? The Viper. Sure. So we'll go Pixie. Return the Tinybones Joins Up. Replay it. Make him discard another card. Now we've got a 2/2. Down to 3 cards. Down to 3 cards. We'll swing 2. I think we just play an Azgol to ping for 1 and to give us more sacrifice fodder for the Viper. If we didn't have the other Azgol sitting here, I don't think I'd do it. Because I want to make sure I can handle a big threat that he drops next turn if I need to. Let's see if we can draw out some of his removal. I'm going to attack with the Pixie. He's going to let it slide. Interesting. Interesting, interesting, interesting. I mean, I don't think we play the Viper yet, right? I think we just pass. Because he's definitely got to be holding back removal. Yeah. I knew it. I knew it. Goodbye, Pixies. It's okay, though. It plays an island. We'll jam Hopeless Nightmare. Make him discard another card. And then, you know what? I think we're going to temporary lockdown. Because if we sack the lockdown to the Viper, if we just get one more land, everything comes back and makes him discard before the Viper's in play. Which means he'll have to get rid of any potential removal he has in his hand. Alright, so we'll make you get rid of a Planeswalker. We'll play the Raven Man because we can. And next turn, the Viper. No! You got rid of my Viper! You're no fun. You're no fun. You ruined it. You ruined all the fun for my viewers. How dare you? How dare you? It's not like you're gonna win anyway. How dare you? How dare you? We had this game. Alright, Hostile Investigator. This should get us back in. Make him discard his last card. We'll crack the map token as well on it. Temporary lockdown. Let's get rid of the temporary lockdown. We need gas. We need to step on the gas. Smash him in the face. Alright. You get a 1/1. You get a 1/1. We will draw a card. 2 of them? 2 of them. They only work on creatures. Pass the turn. Good grief. We'll use the blood spatter analysis on one of them. That's fine, we get a counter. I mean, theoretically, if enough things die, we could get back the Viper with the blood spatter analysis. Pass the turn. I think I'd rather have a second card in hand to bluff interaction with. Ooh. Ooh, that's good. That's real good. But we're gonna wait. Let's pass the turn. End of his turn, I'm gonna Soul Partition the temporary lockdown. Oh, baby. Discard 2 cards. And take a damage. Because why not? And then, you know what? We'll sack the Nightmare to try to scry into something as well. Lily? I'll take a Lily. make him discard, so we might as well play the Blood Spatter Analysis instead of discarding it. Oh, we should have played the Lily first, though, because of the counterspell. That makes sense. That makes sense. Pass a turn. We could temporary lockdown again, but without knowing if we have a way to sacrifice the lockdown, I don't think it makes sense. Alright, we'll pass the turn. If we have a card in our hand, there's a chance he wastes one of his discard cards. Another lockdown? Dude, what is going on? Just give us all the lockdowns. Every single lockdown. Hiya. Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
I was expecting a more impressive enemy. I've done my research.
Get rid of that land. Thank you. Thank you for speeding up our game by an entire turn. Alright, here we go. Discard something, right? Let's map token. Yes, we want to keep that. We don't want to draw it yet. Pass the turn. We want to draw it when we can play it, so sure.
You got it.
Sure. Sure. That's quacktastic. Eternal Wanderer. Oh god. Makes a 2/2.
Keep your eyes sharp.
Alright, let's sack this. Let's temporary lockdown to eat the tokens. Draws a card. Doesn't eat that, except technically it's 4. Guess we'll do it like this. And then this. Make him discard. And now we just have to survive long enough for Bandit's talent to do its thing. Which, with Kaya on board, is a bit tricky.
Show them the edge of your blade.
A bit tricky.
I knew this was a waste of time.
Alright, let's try to land the Liliana while we have a bunch of mana to potentially pay into a counterspell. What it is. And we will fully level up our dude. And it is a race. He's got a double striker. He can drain 3 every turn. It's definitely tricky. Oh, he's thinking of exiling our enchantment. That's a bummer. That's a bummer.
Win this together.
It's gonna level it up, isn't he? That probably does it for him. Man, that Kai is just putting in so much work. The Eternal Wanderer is good too, but the Kaya is just nuts, bro. Did I just say bro? Somebody punched me in the face. Come on. Come on. Come on.
Show them the edge of your blade.
That's just it, right? Wild. Absolutely wild. Alright, this looks pretty good. We'll keep this. We're gonna have to hold on to the Pixie. We'll start with a Blackcleave Cliffs. 𝑠v, I remember you. I remember you. I don't remember where I remember you from, but I remember you. Bandit's Talent. Make him discard. And I think next turn we play the 𝑚𝑘𝑠 so that we can play Liliana without any pain. Because I don't think we'll need the extra colored mana later on. Hostile Investigator has a lot of colorless. Yeah, I think it's just going to be better to go Lily. -2.
To regret it. One of your friends has to leave.
Amalia. That's unfortunate. Amalia is pretty big and nasty, so we will Hostile Investigator. Make you discard one. And then we will uptick Liliana. We'll discard our Blackcleave Cliffs.
I'm tired of your secrets.
And we will pass the turn. Honestly, we have a lot of value left in our hand. Starscape Cleric, not bad. Kind of just jam it out, not worried about the offspring. Temporary Lockdown seems really good right here. So let's do that. We just eat everything. Yeah, he scoops. Let's go. Done. Thanks so much for checking out my channel. I'd like to give a huge shout out to all of my patrons over at Patreon. Without you guys, this channel would not be possible, so honestly, thank you from the bottom of my heart for all of your contributions. If you haven't yet, like and subscribe. The more likes we get and the quicker we get them, the bigger this channel will grow and the faster it will grow. I'd love nothing more than this channel to become something very special for you guys, but it's entirely up to you how fast that happens. Also, if you'd like more deck techs, that's somewhere over there. And if you'd like to see what else the channel's been up to lately, that's somewhere up that way. Also, subscribe, circle below, do all the things.